Good morning all. I know some of you, but not all of you in the room. My name is Shaun Leonard. I'm Director of the Wild Trout Trust, and a huge welcome to Waddow. This is our annual get-together. This year it's with the Ribble Rivers Trust, and it's brilliant to see you all and to see your rivers. I wonder if you'd just join me in congratulating my wife on our 29th wedding anniversary. She's 256 miles away. She's not that impressed. This is the third year running I've done this, and it'll be the last year I do this. So, let's start with a little bit of domestics, I guess, just before we get into the meat of the day. Just thanks again to the guys from Ribble. They've done us a brilliant job. Some of the local clubs have been superb. Bowling Game, Manchester Anglers, and some of you are going to test their waters tomorrow, I believe. We've had great support from the EA with Mark Rudd, and especially Mark Rudd volunteering Neil Handy to speak, which he's really pleased about, a bit like my wife. And to all the speakers. So we've got I think a really interesting group of speakers, and I hope you'll agree as we go through the morning. And to you guys for turning up, just to reiterate that point. We've also had some good support, in fact brilliant support, generous support from United Utilities, who've offset some of the costs because, as I will explain shortly, we are a charity and we try to do everything on a shoestring. So United Utilities have stepped in and been very generous in support. Right, so here's my talk, what's up, what WTT's been doing for the last 12 months or so since we last met down south on the Chess. So just the absolute basics about what WTT is. We are a conservation charity. We have a membership. It's fairly flat. It's about 2,500 people. Has been thus for probably a decade. But we are all of a like mind. We're all fishermen, although our primary driver is conservation. We employ now 10 people in various bits and bobs. 7 people effectively full-time and 3 part-timers, so quite a lot of mouths to feed, and hopefully you'll see in a second the important people, the conservation officers, are doing an awful lot of work around the country. And that's our mission, to conserve, protect and restore habitats for wild trout. That's what we do, or attempt to do, in a nutshell. So, this is what we've done, the nitty-gritty of our year. The bread and butter of what we do is advisory visits. So this is the conservation officers, as I said, there are 6 of them, going out with fishing clubs, landowners, maybe groups of conservation volunteers, and just talking about what's good and bad habitat and what those clubs could do to try and make life better for the trout and the other things in and around the river. And one of the things that we're always quite delighted with is that 4 out of 5 advisory visits turn into stuff in the river. Advice is all very well if it's, what use is it if it doesn't do something? So I do an audit at the end of the year of the previous year's advisory visits, and in 4 out of 5 cases, the clubs or whatever have actually enacted at least some of the advice. In other instances where that advice hasn't been enacted, there are some tricky barriers like land use, maybe getting consent from the regulatory authority, that kind of stuff. We've also done something like 35 practical demonstration events, and they would vary in duration from a day through to 2 weeks. And I'll show you some of this stuff just in a second. And they've been scattered geographically from the southwest of England to most recently the west coast of Scotland. And we've also got running something like 32 projects. And again, they've got an enormous geographical spread. And I've just tried to zigzag up the mainland of Britain to demonstrate where they're happening. So from down in the southwest in Somerset, I'll show you that pictorially in just a second, right up to Argyll, and again I'll show you that pictorially in just a second as well.